Okay, so we are live. Now, one thing I did forget to do is open up the chat. So let's do that now. Where is it? Active project. Okay, so we can close this.
Did you have dinner already?
Yeah, and we can, yeah. Okay, cool. So we are live. Okay, what episode are we on?
I think I kind of lost track, but something around 24 or 25.
I think we're like at 26 though.
Let's call it 26.
Okay. So, hello and welcome to the Fullstack Network episode number 26. This is actually episode number 2 of our Pomodoro project. And if you haven't been following, you can actually see that here. So, the idea is that we want to build a connected Pomodoro timer with a noble cause to solve the distractions in the open office. So basically, the idea is to have some sort of an indication that you are working and you're not to be distracted, and also be able to, carve out time to work on important tasks. Now, this is very different from the kind of the Pomodoro timer that you're used to, which is just this piece of software that really has nothing to do with the way you work. The way we're thinking of building it is to build it in a way that will fit into the way we do work today in startup companies or in any tech companies. So, for example, if you're working on your Mac or you're working on your Windows, then you have some kind of a notification center. And the idea is that once you start to carve out some time, once you start and you say, okay, so I'm working now, then it will basically turn off all of the communications. And it will tell Slack to not notify you. It will put Slack on Do Not Disturb. It will put your Mac on Do Not Disturb, and so on and so forth. But the great thing about it is that it's also going to have some sort of piece of hardware that's going to sit on top of your monitor, on top of your monitor, on top of your desk, wherever you want to put it, and then it will blink red. And red means do not disturb. And green means it's okay, and I'm not focusing on something, and you can approach me, you can ask me questions, and whatever. And the more we talked about this product, the more we kind of, so to speak, fell in love with it, because the idea is really nice, and the idea of how it will kind of fit in to the workplace and how it's going to fit into how people do work is really interesting. So we definitely think it's something that a lot of people are going to find useful. If we do a quick recap on what we've done yesterday, so we can go here, github.com, Fullstack Network, and you can see the Pomodoro server, which is the one that we worked on yesterday. And Stevens, I did a bit of refactoring today, mainly around Bubble and ES6 and stuff like that. Nothing really too crazy. You can see I changed the tests to have a watch all, and I changed the factory to be inside of a factory directory. Nothing really too crazy. Just a bit of cleanup and a bit of refactoring. Really nothing too crazy. Okay, so what we want to do today is, and we can actually go and look at our Trello. So our Trello is open source, for people that kind of want to look at it and see what's happening. So we have the task state machine, which is what we said we want to do today. And then we have an API to kind of return the user token. Yeah, so we can. So we want to start working on that, and we have a logo. I can actually show the logo later. And this is really kind of what we want to work on today. So the task state machine is what we want to do, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what we have currently. So if we look at our models and we look at our task model, then what we see here is that in the task schema, we have a user ID, which is currently not a relation to simplify. We have a title, we have a start time, and we have a task time, which is going to be a number, and we have a task status, which defaults to task status.started. Right?
Right.
One thing I do want to change here really quickly, and this is part of the refactoring I've done yesterday, is as you can see here in the user model, what I've done is change the updated at and created at here to something else. So I want to change it here as well. So this is here. And then, so let's close this like so. And then timestamps equals to timestamp is true, which means we're going to have an updated at and a created at. So this is one thing I wanted to change. Another thing I changed in the user model is I changed the ID to be a default of UUID4. So I want to change that here as well. And let's copy that over here. Okay. This means that our IDs are not guessable anymore, right? So if you know one task ID, you cannot guess the other task's IDs, which, you know, with regular IDs, you can have a 54, 55, 56, 57, and so on and so forth. So this is the one thing that I kind of wanted to change, you know, going back to the cleanup I've done this morning. And if we look at the changes again, we only have our task model. So we can have git add src and then -p and look at what our changes. So yeah, this looks like what we want. So we can change that and then git commit -m. And this is going to be refactoring to UUID v4 and timestamps of the task model. Great. Awesome. So now we can really kind of stick our teeth into the state machine, right? So if we, you know, kind of try to draw our state machine, this is what it looks like, right? So we have a task, right? And a task has some kind of a status. And really, you know, to simplify, we only have 3 statuses right now. We have a start, we have distraction, so this is distract, and we have finished. Right?
Okay.
So these are the kind of statuses that we have right now that we're dealing with, right?
Yep.
Now, what we need to do is once we start some kind of a task, we need to essentially have a timer running. And that timer needs to run for the interval configured in the task, right? So the task basically has a start time, right? And then the timer is the task time, right? So for example, if this started at 4:40 p.m. and then it has a 20-minute interval, then by 5 p.m. the task needs to finish, right? Unless you distract. So unless you distract from the task has to finish by 5 p.m.
Yep.
So again, going back to kind of the architecture of it, then we have two ways of solving the architecture here. One is to schedule a task, right? So one is to schedule to 5 with the ID of the task,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And the second is to pull every X and check tasks, right? So this is option 1 and this is option 2, not based on priorities, right? So
Okay.
we can either do a schedule of one worker to 5 p.m. with the ID of a task, or pull every X, X being can be a minute, it can be 2 minutes, it can be 3 minutes, and whatever, and then check all the open tasks that are past due, and and essentially finish them. You know.
Just a thought process here.
Yeah.
So you say it can be 3 minutes, but then I'm thinking if it's 3 minutes, we could miss some of the stop time. Let's say they set it to 20 minutes, and the last time we checked was 19, and then it come back 3 minutes later, it's already 22. Then it become inaccurate.
Yeah, well, but again, for this, you have that buffer. It's not really critical whether you're gonna have that buffer or not, right? It's not what I'm saying. It's not a heart rate measuring system. All we need to do is whether the task finished or whether this task got distracted. You know what I mean? There is no like there is no tolerance, or actually there is very high tolerance into whether you're going to finish it a minute later or whether you're going to finish it 2 minutes later. As long as you push the task state into the finish state, then you're good. You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't
From a
really
user
matter.
perspective, like if the user sets to 20 minutes and became like a 23, 24-minute task, I'm not sure
No,
how
no,
the
no.
user.
That's the thing. On the client side is something different. On the client side, the timer is gonna finish, and if what I'm saying is this is a protection from the client side, because once on the client side you finished,
Ah,
right?
got it.
Once on the client side you finished, then that finish event is also gonna be sent to the server. But what I'm saying
Yes.
is, in the case where you started, then the client side, exited or
Got
something, then we want to just go and clean those up.
got it, got it. So there's like two-layer trigger. The client will actually signal to the server that this is stopped, and then this is a second layer of protection.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. This is essentially going to say, do we have any expired tasks that are still in the running state, that are still in the started state, and then go ahead and just, clean those up.
Okay.
Right? This is essentially kind of what we're doing here. Cool. So, but by the way, people in the chat room, I think we have about 3 or 4 people now. So first of all, welcome. Second of all, as with any of our as with any of our streams, you are more than welcome to ask questions and give comments. So please don't be shy and let us know if you have any questions. Okay, great. So what we want to do now is to kind of do that state machine, right?
Yeah.
And the way we want to do it is depending on how complicated we want to make it, then we can test it without the database, or we can test it with a database with some sort of a time manipulation to test test whether the task is expired or not, right?
How do you test without the database?
So we definitely don't need the database to test for everything here. Because what happens here, if we go back to our whiteboard here, I mean, if you think of all of this, so the task, the status, and the states, all of this can be mocked, right? It can be mocked, it can be stubbed, because it's only basically messages coming in and coming out of a model that is well defined.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can essentially fake that contract between the task and its state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can also fake the contract of time, because you're going to essentially have, let's say you have an expired method. So you check, hey, are you expired? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
and you can fake that, right? You will definitely have to at some point go to the database. But that can be really really late in the game. You definitely don't have to write the tests for everything through the database.
Okay.
That's for sure. Okay. But first thing first, so let's go and say, so we have an ID with a default of UUID v4. We have a user ID, we have a start time, we have a task time, and we have a task status. So first of all, in the model's task status, we can copy that and say finished.
Okay.
And finish is going to be 2. So we
Yep.
can do that. And then distracted, or how should I say that? Um,
Interrupted or
Maybe incomplete,
incomplete.
which is going to be 3. Right. So first of all, have that, so we can have all of the task status. What we can actually do here, so let's open up this and let's run yarn start here. So we'll have the server running, and then here we'll have our test running. Okay, so let's run our test. Okay, our tests are still passing and our server is running. And let's just make sure we did not regress. Let's open up Postman here and align it to a good spot. Okay, so okay, I think that's a good spot. Okay, so let's see what we have here in the body. So we can do 9 and then send. And as we can see, this is awesome, and we still have our user registration working. Okay, so this is good. What is going on here? Connection. Okay, it's connection to the database. Why is the connection to the database failing? Okay, so yarn test. So let's run that. Okay, so our tests are passing, but then at some point they just start failing. I don't know why. So we'll check that. So now, if we go back to our code, so this is 3, and what do we want to do here? So what we want to do is we want to fake the contract between the task and its status. Right? So let's see how we can do that. Okay, great. So what we can do is here. So let's go to the task factory. Here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what we're going to do is we're going to have a static method here, which is going to be get open tasks, right?
Okay.
Like so.
Yep.
And what this is going to do, it's going to find all the tasks that are open, and started. Okay, great. So let's do that. Okay, so let's what? I lost my browser. Great. So let's close this here.
I thought we'd want another model, like a worker kind of
Well,
model to
but the
do this
worker
thing for us.
comes later, right? Before that, we need the model communication, really, right?
All right. All right.
Okay. Um, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say that task dot find, and this is going to be an object. So this is Mongo interface, right? And this is, what did we say? Start time
Start time. Yeah.
is, what is it? Is it larger than? No, it's not larger than. It's let's see how we do Mongoose comparisons. Let's see. So let's see how we do comparisons here. So fine. Okay, so it's greater than, but I don't want greater than. I actually want older task. But actually here, I don't really care. So all I really care here is about the status. Right?
All right.
Because I'm going to do the comparison in memory anyway. So really all I care here is about this task. Great. So we can have task status from models and task status. And then this is going to be task status dot, what do we have in task status again? Okay, started. Right?
Yep.
And then let's see if this returns a promise. So mongoose find promise. Because if not, then we need to fake it to. So find find by. So find mongoose test with ES6 bluebird. No, that's not what I want. Okay. So promise. This means that you can do things with myModel.findOne.then. Okay, the question is whether this is with. So let's see what this returns. So let's go here. And see what this returns. Okay, so let's build our project. Okay, our project is built. And let's do node. So we'll start a console here. And then we will start the app here. Great. And then the task factory. Okay, so this is the task factory. And then we can do task factory dot get open tasks. Is not a function. Why? Okay, so let's do that. And let's see in another way what this returns. So we'll do const task equals require dist models task dot model. Cannot find module. Oh, it's server. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, and let's copy this here. Okay, task status is not defined, so let's import that as well. So we'll do task status, and then this is task status, like so. Awesome. So now we can do this, and this, and this. Okay, so this does not actually return a promise. So this returns an object that expects a callback.
An object that expects a callback.
Yeah. So
You mean task.find returns an object that returns a callback.
yeah, it expects a callback. So let's see what we have here. So we have a find. Okay, so we have a find, limit, sort, and then you have exec, and then a callback.
Okay.
And that callback basically accepts an array probably. So let's do that. Okay, so this is going to return a new promise, which is going to have a resolve and reject. Okay, so this is going to be this. And then this is going to be exec, like so. And then function tasks. Right, and actually let's do that in ES6 syntax. So this is going to be here. Right, and then this is going to resolve with tasks. Right?
Okay. Resolve task. I don't quite understand, why do we need to return a promise here? It's like,
because this is our contract, with the external world. This is our contract that the factory returns promises. This is a promise, and then this also needs to be a promise.
Okay.
So in Mongoose 4, query has a .then, and that can be used as a promise. So seems like this can be used as a promise. The question is whether it can be. So query.select. So we have a find occupation host where name.last equal where age dot greater than. So this can be find like so dot where status dot equals to this. Right?
And that will return a promise?
Well, at least based on the documentation, this should return a promise. So let's look here.
Then you don't need to wrap it inside of a promise, do you?
Well, if it returns a promise, no, I definitely don't. So let's do that here. By the way, people in the chat room, first of all, welcome. And second, if you have a question, then please let us know. Okay, this doesn't seem to be. Oh, this is wrong. This should be here. Okay, so let's do this. So P equals this. Function results. And let's console.log results, like so. Unhandled promise rejection, results is not defined. So what dot catch error function error and then console.log error. Console.log error.
What is results? There's no results. Are you missing it?
Results. What is going on? Okay, so here. Okay, so promise is pending. Okay, so it actually returns 0 results, which is what we expect. Okay, so what we can do here is in the task factory, we can do create, and then user ID equals to something, and then task time equals to 25. And I think that's all we need. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then here we can execute that promise again. And we're still getting, well, the question is whether we saved it to the database or not. And this is, okay, so let's see, task dot where status equals to this. And then p dot then, so dot catch function error console.log error. Okay, so promise is still pending. What is going on here? Do I need to do exec? This is my question. Do I need to do exec or do I not need to do exec? Okay, so person. So let's see what exec is. So when executing a query with a callback function, you specify your query is a JSON document. The JSON document syntax is the same. Okay, so this is query.exec. Okay, so we have a person using query builder. So find occupation host. So this is the JSON builder. That's fine. Person schema. That's not what I want. So seems like you do need exec. Like so. No, that's not what I wanted to do. .exec.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
After, if why is it that when you call it, it says pending, but then you get an empty array? Like, how did that happen?
So that's kind of the thing that's not really clear to me as to what's going on. And if I do task2.find and I do, you know, just an empty object, this is supposed to bring me everything. So that then
Doesn't.
And then this should have a function results like so, and then console.log results like so, right?
That's what you expect it to do.
Yeah, and there it is. It's here. You see, there is the ID, task time, and then task status is 1. Oh, okay. I got it. I know what the problem is. Okay, I know what the problem is. Great. So this is not status, actually. This is task status, right? And then you see there's a promise, and there it resolves. Great.
What did it take that long to resolve? Oh, you had to call p.
Yeah, I just
Like
yeah.
p equals to something. Okay, so when you set p equals to task2 dot this thing, it doesn't execute it. You have to do p in order to execute.
No, you have to do p in order to look at the result. It executes immediately. So it already executes here, but you know, you have to, how are you going to see the result? You know, so in order to see something, then you need to do p to just see it. This just like prints it out, you know?
And it wouldn't work without the exec.
Like wait, just 1 second. So I totally missed the Twitch chat. So guys on Twitch, I'm sorry about that. So first of all, you have a few questions here, fair questions. So Adam, so Stevens and I had a discussion today, and I think people watching me code were very, very frustrated about how fast things are going, and a lot of that was also perception of being fast, because like when you open a file in Vim, it's like, instant, and you move between, windows and buffers and so on and so forth. So the thing is that I did use Atom here, as you can see. So if we go to the main here again, so on here, like this is here, you see my editor, and then here you see the terminal. So, and I try to keep kind of the project structure open here on the left side. So then I think when I say, okay, so I'm now going to the task factory, and I actually go with the mouse, and my hand is getting tired because I actually almost never use the mouse, but and then I go to the task status, it's like that even kind of the movement with the mouse forces me personally to also say what I'm doing. And it's also very visual, up here. So I think it's more familiar to people. So this is why I'm using Atom today. Yeah, I can assure you, I'm not converted. So have you tried Monk.js? So first of all, the answer is no, I did not. But let's see what Monk.js is. No, I haven't used it, and I don't plan to use MongoDB for long on this project. So it's also not very interesting. What else do we have on Twitch? Matt, how are you, man? Welcome back. Welcome back. So, dude, I cannot figure this out. I am so stuck that I'm losing my mind. Holy shit. Are we going to help Matt?
We should do that.
Are we going to help Matt? Let's vote. Let's take it to a vote. People in the chat room. Let's take it to a vote. Let's do a straw poll. Now, let's see. Matt, you are in the hands of the people here. Let's see. Should Okay.
$5. It's too expensive, man. You should start low.
There is your straw poll. You guys are the bosses. What do you want?
If you put $1, I'll probably vote for that.
What? Wow! What is going on? 67% out of total of 3 people. All right.
Wait, what's the result? Yes.
Yeah, the result is so far 3 people have voted.
Did you vote for
No,
$5?
I did not vote. I did not vote.
Oh, we have 4 people voted. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me put it on live video as well. Look, 75%. Matt, seems like you're very popular.
Matt is a nice guy. We don't want to see people losing their mind.
Yeah. Losing your mind, man.
No one voted. Fuck no.
Okay. So it seems like no one voted no. So it's almost unanimous to help you, Matt.
Can you unvote? Can you unvote on this thing? No.
No.
I'm gonna clear my cookie and unvote it.
Okay. So 4 votes. It seems like So ID, what's going on here? ID 32. This is our project. This is the one that we're working on right now. And we're working on the server side right now. And we, by the way, I have shipping confirmation. So I want to show you that. Let me show you that.
For what? Oh, for the LED box.
Yeah. Where is it?
Is that your email?
Yeah.
What kind of client is that?
What kind of client?
Yeah. What
Oh, it's not
GUI
in this email.
client are you using?
It's a mail plane. Idea, just so you know. Great. Dude, so idea here, Twitch. I am the worst. And I mean with no competition with like looking at a nickname and figuring out what's the kind of the pronunciation. So Matt, seems like people are very, very, very into helping you. So seems like we're gonna take a break from our project and help you out. All right, so let's do that. Matt, can you post your the GitHub link on the chat room, please? So let's look at the GitHub for Matt. People on live EDU, by the way, you need to feel free to participate as well. And I'm not actually watching the YouTube stream, but I don't know if there are people there. If you are, then you should come to Twitch. Just so you know. Okay, Matt, we're waiting for you, man. We are waiting for you. No, seems like the chat on YouTube is not active, so that's all right.
Matt, are you there?
No, seems like Matt is not with us anymore.
Download file icons.
No. I'm not customizing my Atom editor. I am not customizing my Atom editor at all. No. I am a Vim guy, and I only do this to suffer for my viewers. I suffer for my viewers.
Like Jesus suffer?
No. So anyway, let's until Matt, answers us. Let's continue here. Okay, so great. So now this, we don't really need that. We can use this. And then this will return a promise, which is exactly what we want, right? So actually, we should change this to get all open tasks. And this will get us all the open tasks that we have currently in the database. And of course, we need to return this because this is not Ruby, right? So this is going to return. We don't need to return a new promise. We can just return this. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So we are getting somewhere here. So this will get us all the open tasks. And what we need to do now is we need to have we need to have a method on the task model, and that method should return true if the task expired and should return false if the task did not expire.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go ahead to our task model here. And as you can see here, we can have methods for our kind of, user. And we can have methods for everything here. So we can look that up. All right. So we're still at 60% to help with Matt, but Matt is not around. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at Mongoose model methods. And let's look at what we have here. So methods, instance methods. This is what I want. Instance method. Exactly. This is what I want. Okay, so find similar type and then function. So assign a function to the method object, animal schema, return this dot model, animal dot find type this dot type, and then callback. Okay, great. So this is what I want. Awesome. So we can have this like so. So this is going to be the task schema dot methods dot, what is it going to be? Is expired, right? And
What?
yeah.
What are you doing? This is this redesigning the schema? No, it's not.
No,
This
it's just
is
adding an instance method on the schema.
why do you add instance method on the schema, not the model?
Well, this is adding on the model. So this is basically doing it on the model.
Oh, this is on the model. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can remove this. And what do we want to do here, right? So we want to check the task start time, right? And then check the time, the TTL basically, you know? And if TTL has passed, move the task over to finished state, right? And then here, whoops, what I want, whoops, okay. So then here, if somehow you have a task not in the started state, you need to exit here, right?
Okay.
So this is what we want to do. Now, how do we do that? And let's look at okay, so let's look at JavaScript. Now the question is, how do we get a time difference in JavaScript?
I
Right.
think one way is we can. Okay, go ahead.
No, go. Yeah, go ahead, Stevens.
No, I was gonna say I think one way is to do is to convert it into like the Unix number. What do you call that? Like the actual number of seconds. But that seems like stupid.
So let's see what we have here. So let's do new date here, like so, and then this is D. D equals to new date, like so, and then D2 equals to new date, like so, and then D2 minus D1. Oh, D2 minus D will give us 5020, which means it's 5 seconds. So if we do D2 in new date again and D2 minus D, 16 seconds. Okay, so this is what we want. Okay, great. So now, so is expired. Now the question is whether I can. So let's see whether I can do that or not, right? So let's exit the terminal here. And I want to do yarn build. Let's see if our project still builds, and it does. Okay, so now I'm going to start a REPL here. And I'm going to say that var task equal to dist, so require dist server models task.model. Right, and then what I want to do is task equal to new task. And I think task dot is expired. I think it's already a method here. Okay, great. So it's actually working. So I don't need to save it to the database. Great. Awesome. Okay. So now let's talk about testing this. But before we talk about testing this, let me ask you, how would you test it? And people in the chat room, by the way, this is a question to you as well. So how would you test something like that? And I laid out all of the logic here. You have some kind of a timestamp on the object, and you have a TTL, right? Task time is minutes, and so task time is minutes. Task start time is a date. And the difference between dates when you're comparing JavaScript is milliseconds. So, but I'm not talking about like the syntax of like how would you do it. I'm talking about like broader picture, larger picture, bigger picture. How would you test something like this? How would you test drive something like this?
I think you would need like something like a time cop sort of library that will freeze time or set the current time to some arbitrary number. Like,
okay.
We need. Besides this, but this method is gonna compare time with whatever that's saved in the database, right?
Okay.
It's gonna compare time with start time, right?
Okay.
It's gonna compare current time with start time. So we need a library that can freeze.
But the question is, why do you think you need a library? Because you clearly can work with simple object here. So you can say this is the time. I mean, why do you need to work with a time library? Because this is just a simple object. You can say, hey, this is the time.
Well, that's because
you use time cup. You use time cup when you need to change like time.now to actually return something else, but you don't want to change the time.now to say something else. What you want to change is the time of the object to say something else rather than what it really is. So you don't really need time cop here. What you need is you just need to fake an object with a different time, right? Do you follow me?
I do. So, but then in the method, well, it depends on what we want to write in the method, right? Do we want an argument as like arbitrary time, or we can say just compare with current time?
So here's the deal. Let me try to sketch that out. I'm like wiping the board here, and my entire desk is like flopping around. Okay, so where is it? Let's put the eraser/towel here. And this is what we want, right? So we have the object, and our object is just a task.
Yep.
And that object has one of the properties, basically the time property, right? It doesn't matter what this property is. It doesn't matter, what the syntax doesn't really matter. Nothing really matters here. What you want to say that whether the time.now compared to the time is what is the delta here, and whether the delta is different than the TTL. Right? So you don't need to fake this. And this is what you fake when we want to do time cop things. Right? But you don't want to fake this. You want to fake this. But this is easy to fake. You're just working with a simple object.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're going to say t equals to some kind of task, right? And then t dot time is equal to time dot now minus whatever you need to test.
Okay.
So you're going to test one that is expired, and you're going to test one that is not expired, and then you're going to test one that is in the 1970s, and then you're going to, so you don't really need to fake the universe, right? You don't need to fake time.now. All you say is, hey, like, this is a task, and it's been created. It's like, fake it like it's been created, like it was created 15 minutes ago, right? And the TTL is 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really need time cop here. You need to kind of look at the object And from the object, you need to compare time.now. So you don't really need to have time cop or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So
And I
let's
got it. You fake the object, not the universe. That's
exactly,
easier.
exactly. So how do we split things here? My goodness. Okay, so split right. Oh my god, I am splitting the screen in Atom. Okay, so let's view. My goodness, how do you view the left side here? How do you do it here? Oh my god, how do people work with this thing? This fucking thing. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is going to be task test. So let's go to our model test. And we don't actually have a model test for the task. So we can put a new file here, which is going to be task.model.test.js. And we can copy the user, at least some of it. So let's go ahead and do that. And close this for clarity. Paste this here. Right. So this is 3 levels up. And we don't need super test here. Okay, and then we're gonna import task from models. So where am I? Models task.model. Okay.
So a city mushroom is asking, what's the unit of measurement for task time?
Oh, I already answered that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is task. I'm not really enjoying Atom, to say the least. But okay.
I do. I think Sublime is better than Atom.
It doesn't matter. For me, it's oh my goodness. Ah, shit. Okay. I did not show Atom while I showed the chat. Oh my god. Again. Okay, so I basically did nothing interesting. I just did the created the test here. Okay. So I created the test. And now what we're doing is we're testing this method. So what we're going to do is it should show the task as expired, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say that date, so const old date equals to new date, right?
Yeah.
And can we do like const d3 equals to new date minus, can I do like 25,000 here? What is this gonna do? Okay, so then d3 minus d. What? Okay.
No,
So
D is not defined. You don't have D.
no idea, I do from before, but anyway, it doesn't really matter for now. Okay, so it seems like I can do it. So this is minus 25,000, and 25,000 milliseconds is 250 seconds, and 250 seconds is 4 minutes. So what we want is essentially 60 times 25 times 100. So we want 150,000, which seems
What
like
is it?
a lot.
New date, does that give the current
Yeah.
date?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now task equals to new task, right? And the task has a start time of old date, and the task status is going to be task status dot started, like so. right?
Okay.
So this is going to be the task. And what we also need here is the task status. What's going on? What's going on? So task. What's going on? What's going on? Okay, so task status. Great. And 150. How come 150,000? This is millisecond, not. So 150,000. 160. No, it's 25.
1 millisecond is
Is it?
1,000 seconds. You mean 1 second is equals to 1,000 milliseconds?
Oh, yeah. This is okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're right. So Roboctocat, greetings back, my man. How are you? Everybody say hello to Roboctocat.
Roboto.
Welcome back.
Oh, Roboto is here yesterday, I think.
Yeah. This is why I welcome back. You know, people that keep coming back. You know, they're my people. My people.
What?
Okay. So
Sounds like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones coming out.
okay. So anyway, this should be true. And then what I do is I expect task dot is expired to equal true. Right?
Yep.
So let's see how horribly wrong this went. Yarn test. Okay, yarn test. What?
I see green.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be green. What? What? Wait, what? I think it's just not using this test. So server test user spec task fact. Yeah, it's not using that one. Oh, it's. I know what the problem is. Okay, so you see this? It's task.test and not .spec. So I'm gonna rename it to .spec.js. And now it's gonna be used. Okay, so now it's failing, which is what we expect. Okay, great. So great. And what we really need here as well is task time. Thank you, Acidic Mushroom. And task time is going to be, I don't know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you know. And I don't really like that this is minutes and everything else that I'm doing is milliseconds. But we're going to have to live with that for now, at least. So first I want to watch. I just want to change my jest to not watch. I just want to run it on demand like so. So task.model. Okay, this is failing, and this is what we expect to fail. So let's see what the comparing different types. Expected Boolean, but received undefined. Awesome. This is exactly what we want. Okay? Great. So what we do now is we can say const now equals to new date. And what we say is const diff equals to now minus this dot task time or task or start time, right?
Okay.
And then we say that const task time ms equals to this dot task time dot times 100 times, no, it's not 100, it's 1,000 and then times 60. Okay. And what we say is return diff is greater than task time in millisecond.
Question here.
Yeah.
Why using constant within an instance function? That just doesn't. Why not use like let or var
Well,
like you're
they're
using?
not mutating. I mean, if they're not mutating, why use the letter of the vars? Okay, so expected. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Did I do I do it differently? So diff, yes. So diff should be greater than. This is what should happen. Yarn test. So diff should be greater than and not. Okay, tests are passing. Bang. Awesome. So now we go here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I'm trying. Oh, I'm trying to switch the screen as my Vim shortcut. My goodness. Okay. Okay, so this is this, and then 29 here, and then should show the task as not expired. So this is, I don't know, minus 5 milliseconds or something. So this should return false.
Okay.
So yarn test. So this should return false, and I'm not changing the test. So this is false. So let's change the test. And what? What? Where did I fat finger something? Seems like I fat finger this. This here. Okay. Fat fingering, fat fingering, fat fingering. So Roboctocat, doing good, having a brewski and watching the best show ever. Thank you, man. I am having banana and soy milk and strawberry shake.
No dog me.
So this is the to your brewski. You have a brewski and I have a banana and strawberry and soy milk shake. I actually prefer soy milk over. I don't drink. I don't consume dairy. Okay, so task is expired. So our is expired works. Can you see what we're missing here?
What's missing here? We're missing. No. Do we need time zone here? We don't care about.
No, we don't care about the time zone. We're working on the server.
Okay.
So equality, acidic mushroom. Just so again, equality is not really. I mean, not really. I mean, definitely what you could do is you could say this, but it's not really mission critical code. That worst case scenario, it's going to be in the next cycle of the worker. What we're missing here, and the question is whether we want it here or not. But what we're missing here is really a check what is the task status, right? Because what we want is here another test. It should show the task as not expired if the status is not started, right? So then the task status is, I don't know, finished, or what is it, incomplete, right? This is the task. Yeah, I think so. So incomplete. And then this should return false even if the task is expired.
Yeah.
So let's gonna run yarn test here, and yarn test is obviously gonna fail. By the way, people that have been watching the stream for more than a minute, what's going on? Yeah, this is not the case here. This should be this. Okay, this should be it. Okay, so let's do. By the way, people that have been watching the stream and kind of watched me with Vim, and then this like new structure of the screen of a big camera, and then the left side here with Adam, and then the top with the terminal. I would love to know what you like better. Do you like, watching me with Vim, or do you like that one as well? I mean, which one is better? Which one do you feel like you're learning more and, enjoying? Okay, great. So now our test is failing, which is what we want. And what we want to do here is if this dot task status is different than task status dot started, then we're going to return false.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. And this should pass, and it does. Okay. Awesome. So now our tests are passing, running in 3 seconds, and they're running in 3 seconds because they involve absolutely no database. So this is good. This is good. Good. Okay, so now we have an is expired, and what we can do is we can combine the things together, right? We can combine the give me all the tasks that are open, and then whether it's expired, and then go ahead and kind of save and say that it's finished. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right. So now what we want to do is we want to create this as a background worker. And the question is, how do we want to do it?
I was looking. There's actually an adapter for Sidekick for Node.js.
Okay.
Not sure if Sidekick is a thing in the Node world, but
well, anyway, that's what I'm talking. Like, I don't care about like the implementation of the queuing system right now. So Roboctocat, thank you for the answer. Roboctocat is saying I have no preference as far as what editor you're using. It's about JS and problem solving. So I agree, but sometimes people definitely feel like it's going too fast, and I can definitely see that. When you work in Vim, and you're used to working with Vim, then sometimes like the movements, like opening a file, splitting, and just like watching the movement is can be distracting. And I'm not disciplined enough to have to how should I say it? I'm not disciplined enough to slow down in Vim, so I kind of need an external motivation. So I have an idea for a background worker. Let me know what you think. This is the simplest background worker you will ever find. Okay. How would you architect the background worker for this project, Stevens? Stevens, are you dead? I think Stevens is dead, guys. I think Stevens has been kidnapped by aliens. And he's not with us anymore. Stevens is gone. So we'll take that chance while Stevens is gone to talk shit about him. And also to remind people that who's following? Thank you for the follow. Yeah, thank you. So I will take that time while Stevens is dead.
I'm not dead.
Yeah, you are. You've not been here for like the last 15 minutes at least.
No, man. I went to get water for like 2 minutes.
No, you were gone for at least like 50 to 60 minutes. Okay, so
What the fuck?
okay, so here's the deal. First of all, Twitch tailor-made 1984. My environment is VS 2017 with Vim plugins. Best of both worlds for me. So first, yeah, definitely. And as you can see, I use Vim for movements in Atom. So I have the visual, and I move things around like so. So definitely, Vim is like a given. I don't use the mouse when I edit code. That's for sure. But it's not. Trust me. I mean, it's not as fast as Vim. It's just not. Glutinous, thank you for the follow. So I just want to remind people, we have 2 new followers. So first of all, thank you for that. And make sure you check back on the stream and on the blog and all of that. And do I have YouTube here? Okay, great. So let me do 2 things I wanted to do. One is remind people that are currently watching in the stream. If you're not following, then please do follow. We really appreciate that people come here and watch and hopefully learn things. So thank you for the people that followed up until now, and thank you in advance for the people that will now click on the follow button. Now, Stevens, what I want to ask you is, how would you architect this background worker? And what I want to Roboctocat, oh my goodness. So what I want to show you now with Stevens as an example, and it's not bad, I'm not trying to say anything bad, but how a simple architecture can be if you can think in a simple way. So Stevens, how would you architect this background worker? Architecture. Don't talk about like syntax.
Right. So I'm going to assume that there's a queuing system already, right?
All right, let's say.
Something like Sidekick that's already working. And I just want an architecture that will take the data and put it in the queue system, right?
Yeah, let's say. So you need a queue system. Right?
Okay, so I need a queue system. So I think, yeah.
Okay.
But do we agree that whether we're gonna do it on?
No, I don't know. I'm not trying to agree or not. I'm asking you a question. How would you architect this? So you would introduce a new queue system, right? So this is a new moving part in the system right now.
Right. There's a new queuing system.
Okay.
Like I would use a library for this, obviously. Well, not obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's
all right. I'm not laughing at you. I'm giving a lesson here about simple architectures. Okay, go. Queuing system.
So my background, coming from a Rails kind of background, I would expect something like Sidekick, very, very similar to Sidekick that's in Node.js, that will provide a queuing system and provide some sort of API where I can interact with. All I need to do is to give the metadata, to put the metadata in like a function. And I put it in the queuing system and I forget about it. And the queue system will, if any processes freeze up, it will pick up the task and execute the task. That's what I would expect. I don't know if that's the way it works in Node.js world, but basically I'm expecting something similar with the way we work with Sidekick in the past.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Okay?
Yeah. Right.
So we have a web service. That web service has an API. Right?
Right.
Now, let's say we have an API that is process, right? Process open. I don't know, whatever. Just an API that when this API is hit, it will do that processing. And then we schedule this with a cron.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We process open. We have
This
an
is some
API.
API. We already have Express. We already have, we already have a web system. So what I'm saying is, why not use that web system and have an API that will process those, and then just use a cron, that supported in basically every server in the world, to just query that API every minute.
Oh, okay. So I see where you're going with this. So you're saying that the API endpoint will basically execute the logic,
Yeah.
right? Actually, that is a good idea because then
What?
because then we don't need the queuing system anymore.
Oh, really?
We don't need the worker architecture,
Oh, really?
right? So in this case, so in a certain way we're using the request queuing system as the queuing system, right? Like if there's no request being queued up, this will get executed, basically whenever we hit it, it will be executed right away.
Yeah.
Right. But if we ran out of server power, then it would just get queued up, and it would execute whenever. No, I can see this working definitely on a smaller scale, but then let's say.
But this is my question to you. When would you move from this, which is, just incredible architecture, incredible,
I know, I like it, but
to this queue system?
this wouldn't scale, right? This definitely wouldn't scale because then you mix this up with
but
all the other traffic.
Oh, this is, and again, like you are literally, this is, I mean, that like 2 words, they're a trigger to me. They're literally a trigger. This will not scale. This does not scale. Doesn't scale.
Well, I learned the word from you. Anyway.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say. This is bullshit, because
Okay.
data is the boss here. What doesn't scale? When would you move from this system, which you say doesn't scale, into this system which scales? And what would you say that doesn't scale in this system that scales better in this system?
Okay.
Because you are still, in both of these systems, you are still hitting the database in the same way, right?
Yeah.
In both of these systems, you are still scheduling in essentially the same way, right? You still have one point of failure in essentially the same place. Now, the question is, what is the scaling point of this? And I'm not trying to fail you here. I'm not trying to do, a whiteboard interview here. I'm not, this is not a trick question. This is literally a question in what architecture 101. What is the scaling point here, right? What is the scaling point in this problem, and what is the scaling point here, right? What would you say that is the breaking point where you would move from this to this?
Okay, so for now, the biggest problem I see with this approach is that I wouldn't be. This will make this background worker gets mixed up. Like it has no prioritization. It has no differentiation with every single other request that comes into this API.
Okay.
Like that's the biggest problem. Like I cannot separate this process out.
Okay.
Like in a
Are you sure though? Are you sure?
I'm not sure. It's just like
but that's the thing, right? So okay, great. So let's talk about it. So, and I'm sorry, by the way, if I'm going, just my whiteboard is here, and to erase it, I need to just move for a second. So I'm sorry, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, so first of all, we have a few kind of comments on Twitch. I'm gonna look at those in a minute, right? So you have the user here. let's draw me. So okay, so you have the user here. This is me. Right? So you have the
Uh,
user, and here you have a load balancer. In here you have your servers. You have your service, right?
oh, okay. I think I
Now,
know where you're going
now
with the
what you're
load
saying
balance.
is you can't differentiate between the capacity you have here and then your cron. Basically, you say, okay, my cron is gonna hit this, and then I can differentiate between this and this, right?
Well, now I can now like you drew a load balancer, then I
No, but
understand. Of
why?
course, I
You
could
still
use a load.
can't. You still can't because your edges are still your servers. So if you hit your edge with that cron system, it doesn't matter if you have a load balancer on the way or not. But what I'm saying is if you can put one more here just to do this, and then your
One
cron
more
will
what?
hit this. One more server, one more unit of work,
Okay.
right? And then you do this, right? Then you can separate that out, right? So let's go to Twitch. Wow, a lot of comments. Multi-threading in the queue system, but I'd have to be on massive scale. Depends on the data you're dealing with, and I wouldn't write the queue system in JavaScript. I write it in Python or Go. +1 for Python or Go. Python or Go. That's the shit. PHP. You know what? I think PHP is the single language I have never written one line with. Just like a single line. I thought the original drawing looked more looked more like you. I don't know JS, but does it have some sort of lazy iterator that works similar to yield? Yes, it does. Technically, no, but ES7 introduced a wait and async, so yes, it does. But since ES6 is not adopted in the mainstream, ES7 is a long way. PHP and Perl. Okay, great. So first, just one second. I'm not saying anything bad about PHP. Anything. It's just funny to me that I've been an engineer for 16 years and I've just never touched PHP. I'm definitely not saying anything bad about PHP. Anything. Okay. So okay, great. So but this is this is to me is 101 overcomplicating and just 101 overthinking too soon. you know I think if you have this working as an API and then you just query that API, this is like for now.
It's enough. Yeah, for
um
sure.
it's more than enough. um so Richard something, don't fight, just love each other. I'm not sure if you're referring to me or not, but I'm definitely not fighting with anybody. um so exactly. So and this is what and this is what I try to tell people, like every single time. I took Stevens as an example here, and Stevens knows, I meant no offense here. But this is really a problem with junior engineers, and with people that are just not familiar enough with like the creative thinking of what is a simple architecture. So the best architects will think of simple solutions to solve complicated problems, not complicated solutions to solve simple problems. Um, and I think it's really so people think about multi-threading, and people think about, hey, where's my queue system, and suddenly you need Redis, and suddenly you need this, and suddenly you need that. When it's like, wait a second, can I have that as an API and just use cron, which is basically built on every server in the world? And why don't do that? You know what I mean? So why not use something like that? You can literally, for a service this simple, you can use the cron on your computer to do that. So yeah,
Yeah, I think
definitely.
that's a good idea. That's a good idea, definitely.
Okay. So a queue system does not actually give you a multi-threading. It will give you a multi-throughput, right? You have more points of throughput. And this is the thing that people confuse a lot also. They confuse throughput with performance, right? Performance is measured in benchmark. Throughput is measured in how many items you have working on the same unit of tasks, right? On the same unit of just array of tasks that you need. This is throughput. Each task can still have 200 milliseconds, can take 200 milliseconds. With if you benchmark it, it's piss bad, right? It's just like embarrassingly bad. But if you put 5,000 workers on it, you're still going to have a fast system. And this is how people solve problems today. They just scale more power, and then you end up, paying $250,000 to Amazon. So again, I know it's a trigger. I'm sorry. Every time I talk about architecture is I get excited. Okay, great. So what did we want? Okay, so we have that, and now essentially we are done with that. I mean, in terms of the only thing we need now is really the tasks, the API, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the task factory. What is going on here?
Excuse me.
Okay, so
God
this
bless
is
me.
the task here. Okay, great. So how do you do that? Okay, here. Okay, so let's go to the task factory here, and close this. In our task factory, we have a get all open task, and we have a create. And what we can do here is we can say static process open tasks, which is going to be this, like so, right? And let's see if we have a question on Twitch. I think we do. So are you TDDing? Yes, I am. I am TDDing. Definitely TDDing. I don't know how to think if I'm not TDDing. What? Wait a second. What happening? Wow, we have a big one. Not just kidding. I'm just starting and I have a question. How do I give users role in a table to differentiate them? Basically, what I do not want to do is different tables for different roles in my web. So it really depends. So the role system is actually not a complicated system. What can be a complicated system is managing those roles and multiple roles per user, and it gets more complicated with that. So really, the only the best way to manage that confuses me. No idea how people write unit tests before writing code. My mind doesn't work that way. So if you think about it, your mind works that way. It's your fingers that don't work that way. There is no way your mind doesn't work that way, because if your mind wouldn't work that way, you would not code. I mean, let's do an exercise here. Let's say, open this process open task here. You need to think about, hey, what do I need here? So I need to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And wait a second. Now, what happens if 1 is incorrect? And what happens if 2 is incorrect? How do I do that? Right? So you think that, but you just don't write that. And if you look at my videos, to Miss Me, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, and here's what I argue here. Everybody thinks that. Every programmer I've ever met thinks that way, just doesn't implement it. And this is the hard part. I mean, it's really hard to start, but once you do, That's it. You just cannot go back. You just cannot. I mean, look at this code here in our task model here. This is simple code. You know, in all benchmarks, this is simple code. 10 lines of code. But this code is tested by 18 to 53. I'm not really good with math, but it's probably what, 40, 35 lines of code, right? Um, shit, I'm not showing it again. So if you look at task model again, you have 11 lines of code here, 10 lines of code. And then it's tested by, from 18, so let's say 19 to 53 here. But those 30 lines here, 35 lines here, make you trust this code much better, right? You just trust this code much, much better than what you would if you wouldn't test it. And it also forces you to think that, this line wasn't, these 3 lines weren't here until I absolutely needed them. So I didn't really think about them before I needed to think about them. So it forces you to think in smaller pieces. And it forces you to think in smaller pieces in a way that is driven by logic. And it also makes you think about what logic do you externalize and what logic do you internalize. And all of this will help make you a better engineer, and will help just run better software, just like much better software. Okay, so we have this. What is it? Where is it? Where am I? Task Factory here. Okay, so Task Factory will have the okay, so now what we need here is this dot get all open tasks dot then, and then we have tasks here, right?
Okay.
So then what we need is tasks dot for each task what okay, here, and then here we can say if task dot is expired, right?
Okay.
So then you do task dot status equals to task status dot finished, right?
Yeah.
And task dot save. Optifee Prime, thank you for the follow. Right, so you go through the task, and then if the task is expired, you save it, and that's about it. Let's see if we have question on Twitch. So why would you oppose to tracking a user's role in another table? A one-to-many relationship between the user's table and the roles table would be ideal. Do you use folding feature in Vim? No, I don't. I find it super useful, but surprised most people don't know about it. So it's not that I don't know about it, it's just that I don't use it. And actually for the role system, you don't really need a one-to-many relationship. A role can be a string, and you can store it as an array on the user's table. Excuse me. So it definitely doesn't have to be a one-to-many relationship. But I think one thing we didn't really dig into. By the way, Jarmahent is still our top tier. Did you know that?
Yeah. I'm not. Every time I log in, he's like pinned as the.
Yeah, he's still the top tier.
He's always pinned as the
Yeah,
top
I
tier.
see. I still see him as a 100 top tier. Anyway, so um, let's dig into this. So, Richard, what would you define as a role, and what does what differentiate between roles? You know. So, what is the differentiating factor between roles? Um, this is what I would, ask as a kind of follow up question. Um, so, da, 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 da. What else? What else? So this is really what we need here.
And then we
Um,
need the endpoint.
yeah, we need the endpoint, but the endpoint we can do tomorrow. I think
Okay.
this is a good spot to finish today.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and add the src here, and add the package.json and git commit -m, and then more work into the state machine. All right. And in case people don't know, this is the GitHub repository. Okay. So thank you, people, for being with us today. And we are going to be here tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. PST, with more time to answer your questions and more work on this Pomodoro timer. So stay tuned, and thank you for everybody who's been here. Thank you, Stevens.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.